The Arizona Cardinals travel to Dallas on Monday night for a game that feels like kind of a last chance for both teams. Wouldn't you say so, Michael?
Yeah, I agree. It's sad to be at that point already, but yes, that is how it feels for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this has been a disappointing season, I think, for both teams, probably more for the Cardinals, as there were some people that thought maybe Dallas, well, they wouldn't have a great defense this year,
Yeah.
especially after the Mike Parsons trade happened. But it's been a problem. Injuries have been a problem. It's always hard to predict that stuff coming into a season. But yeah, this feels like a do or die kind of situation, to be a little bit dramatic. But for both teams, and either or both teams might be done regardless of this particular game. We still might not play well enough after this, but it feels like both teams are on a path of you can't lose many more games this season if you want to have any kind of shot at a postseason. And I know it's silly to even suggest that at 2-5, but it's the team's obligations, their responsibility to be trying. Like, hey, we're 2-5, we're 1-6, whatever. You're still supposed to be trying to make the postseason because that's your job. So we'll see what they decide to do. So first, why don't you tell me about what Dallas really needs to focus on in your eyes to try to get past my juggernaut Arizona Cardinals?
Well, I mean, both teams, as we've seen throughout the year, it doesn't take a juggernaut to beat us. Like either one of our teams has found ways to lose to teams they had no business losing to. So at moments, both teams look really good. And then the next minute, they look terrible. So it's very frustrating in that regard. It makes things like this question very, very difficult because it's like, well, man, y'all really showed up really well against, let's say, Seattle. Like your defense did or whatever. And then the next thing you know, it's like, well, we got trucked by the next team. I mean, I think it's the typical things that we talk about every week. You were talking about gaps coming into the season or things with Dallas. I remember the biggest thing I was concerned about was the defense, but that was second to the running game. I was like, who in the world are we running? How are we going to do that? And now Javonte Williams has come in and helped us balance our offense. So, it's the same as it is for me every week. We need to score 30 points to be competitive in this game. I know, like you were just saying, Arizona's not been a huge let's run up the score kind of team, but they haven't played Dallas before this year. And so there's an opportunity there for everyone to score points. A conventional wisdom, I think, would say, hey, the thing we need to figure out or fix going into this game is the defense. Like we need to fix something on that. But the problem, I don't think we can fix our defense, whether that's because we don't have the defensive strategist to be able to best utilize the pieces that we have, or just we don't have the pieces. I'm lost at this point. Diggs is still out, which is kind of like that guy who can bridge some of those gaps and create opportunities. So yeah, I think we're really in a bit of a bind on the defense side of the ball. So the answer for us is to continue being one of the top offenses and show up and actually score points. So that's kind of what I look at. Does that make sense to you? And kind of how do you expect the Cardinals to approach this game?
Well, yeah, that does make sense to me. I think that you're one of the teams, especially because of your defensive limitations, if you want to call it that. You've got to get a fast start. You got to get out ahead and at the very least, allow your defense to kind of dictate terms, force a pass only offense on the opposing teams. We're not always the easiest team to do that to. We have actually started out well in most of our games, not all of them. Seattle, when we had 6 points going into the fourth quarter or something like that. But we have been able to score some points. In that, again, that makes sense to me. We have put up between 20 and 30 points in most of our games this season. So you're saying, hey, we got to put up 30 points, makes total sense. We've played some other defenses that were not great. The Colts defense has certain things that they do well, but as I've talked probably too much about, their pass rush really isn't anything spectacular, and their secondary has been beat up. So that was a great game for it's almost it's a solid comparison to Dallas, I feel like, in that regard. So Jacoby Brissett even should be able to, if he ends up being the quarterback, and he might be able to put up some points on you still and keep us in this game. Our problem is less tangible than yours. Like yours is like, yeah, we just can't get any pressure. Our secondary isn't coming together right. We're playing maybe a poor zone scheme or something like that. These things are relatively measurable. Ours is strange. Ours is, for some reason, we're a pretty good team for 3 quarters, and then we just turn it off in the fourth quarter and we allow anything and everything. And I've stated before, maybe earlier this week, that it was like, if you were down in the fourth quarter, 31-17, something like that, like it's bad, but there's still 12 minutes left or something like that, I think I'd breathe pretty easy. We are not the kind of team that's going to hold on to a lead. So that's my main concern for this one. Now, trying to be a bit positive, what do the Cardinals need to do? I'm going to kind of switch it up on you. Now, what do I really want them to do is I want them to pass like crazy. I want them to prove a point. I want Kyler Murray to come in and play the best game he's played all year. What do I think is probably more logical is if somehow they could get the run game going. And this doesn't seem like that game on paper. You're like looking from the outside, and we're thinking of the fact that weird Jonathan Gannon meme where he's saying pew pew explosives. But I think that, and you're looking at both coaches, Clayton Adams loves to run the ball. Drew Petzing loves to run the ball. And I think that's actually a storyline that could happen is we run the ball a lot, assuming this game is relatively close. So maybe that's what keeps this game from being 46-55 at the end, is both teams' reliance and actual preference to running the ball more often than not. It might keep this down to like a 27-30 kind of a thing. I do think it'll be close. I've gone back and forth, but I really do think we'll keep this close. But yeah, it's a good week for us to only have a middling offensive line because your pass rush has not been dominant this week. But you were telling me about some of your players who might be coming back from injury. So care to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so it's possible. Cooper Beebe, our center, has been out for a long while, and he at least practiced this week. So I'm not 100% sure he'll be back at this point, but that would be an improvement. Although we've had some good play from the backups we've had in. Still, I think he's a superior athlete. That would be positive on our offensive line, which is not exactly where we've had the most problems. But the more intriguing one and probably more valuable one to our team would be DeMarvion Overshown, who last year kind of came out of nowhere, just looks hyper athletic from linebacker position. He's not the biggest guy, but he's that guy who just appears in every play. He's fast, he's smart. He just seems like he's kind of taking over that role, and we're desperately in need of that in the middle linebacker position. So I would love to see him back. He was in practice, so I have not heard that he is playing, but that would be a huge improvement there. Diggs is still out. That'll be a big hit. All the Tylers supposedly are going to play. So a lot of our defensive bigger kind of woes should be hopefully settling themselves. Not 100% sure we'll get them all back before the game. But yeah, hopefully that'll make an impact on the defensive side of the ball. I don't really expect that it'll be a huge difference on offense, but we'll see. What about the Cardinals? Have y'all got any big injury news that you think that'll be an impact in the game?
Well, there's the obvious one. It's the Kyler Murray one. We don't really know for sure. The coaches have a history of kind of trying to play coy for whatever reason, and the gamesmanship, or maybe it's legitimate uncertainty. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really matter. One way or another, they have not fully shown every sign that Kyler Murray will be starting this game. The last update is they said, yeah, we're preparing Kyler Murray to play on Monday night. But most recently, I believe that Jacoby Brissett's getting the snaps with the ones in practice. So typically that second thing, whoever gets snaps with the first team reps and such, that ends up he starts the games more often than not. That was a real mess of how I went through that just now. But anyway, yeah, so that's kind of where I would lean right this second. Now we've got a practice or two between now and then. So we'll get to see more. Outside of that, you've got some guys that it sounds like are kind of flirting with close. You've got Walter Nolan. You've got the BJ Ojolari. You've got Trey Benson, who I believe comes back or potentially comes back after the game with Dallas, as I think this is game 4 of his IR stint. But we don't know if it'll be 4 weeks that he's out or 6 weeks that he's out or whatever. But So we're a little ways away from several players. And Walter Nolan, as great as that would be to see him out there, he's never played a rep, like a single snap in the NFL. So I don't think that there's anything that's about to come back that would just be game changing outside of the quarterback. So
Yeah.
short answer, no, but also yes.
Sure.
So yeah, okay. We'll see about that. Excuse me. All right. Well, let's get down to the part where we probably won't, but theoretically we could fight about it a little. And that's the like, how do you think this is actually going to go?
I mean, again, it's tough, and I think the game against the Broncos made it a little bit more of a question mark, right? Like we scored like 24 points. You know, I think that expecting Dallas to score 30 some points is not wild. My question and my consideration there is, even with our bad defense, is Arizona going to be able to put up 30 points as well? That would be the first 30-point game I believe they've played this season if they do. So I think in that regard, I think I would say I expect this one to be Dallas at home in a one-score game, whether that's a 33, 27 kind of game or something like that. Something in that ballpark. Because if they don't score points, if Arizona doesn't score some points against Dallas, I think that's going to add even more layers of questions for the Cardinals, because Dallas's defense isn't known. We are the worst defense in the NFL right now. So that's kind of how I see it. Do you see it? Where do you see it, or where would you like to see it?
Well, I mean, we certainly have a path to victory.
Yes.
If you look at our past games, and I have no more care for moral victories to like actually make me feel better. But at the same time, if I'm assessing a game, am I going to look more positively on a game where we lost to, let's say, the Colts, 63-13, rather than, I can't even remember what the final score was now, but a close one-score game.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm going to look at the close one and think, well, that's better than getting just blown out. And we have lost, to just kind of briefly rehash, we've lost close games to good teams, except for Tennessee, which was the weirdest debacle that should have been a 3-score win that I may have ever seen. So we can contend with you. It's not that. I don't think you're really a better team than we are, even per se. I think that you might be a bad matchup, and we still have this weird hump that we have to prove we can get over, which is finishing games.
Yeah.
And until we do so, I'm going to doubt that we're going to do so, because it's not just like, oh, there's been like 2 games this year. It's like, no, there's been like 7 games this year where we blew it in the fourth quarter. So that's my expectation. Again, until they prove me wrong, I kind of have to guard myself a little bit. So yeah, I think it'll be another semi quote unquote respectable loss, but it'll be close. The big question will be, can we keep you under 30? I kind of doubt it. But I could see being right at 30. Again, I mentioned it earlier, maybe like 30-26 or 30-27, some weird score.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck getting that in a pool. But yeah, so that's kind of what I see. I know I should be coming on here and just like, yeah, Cardinals are going to win, we're going to right the ship, but we have this one weird weakness that we have not shown any ability to fix yet. We'll see. Maybe coming out of the bye, they were able to get their head right, but need to see it to believe it. So I hope I'm wrong, and we'll see. But overall, if nothing else, just give me a good, fun game. I can root for Dallas after Monday. But we'll do that. All right. Well, fantastic, sir. Well, we didn't fight, and that's good. So that's good. I'm glad we accomplished this.
Game hasn't happened yet, though.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we won't be watching in the same room, so that'll probably be a good precaution. So anyway, thanks everyone for joining us for this kind of out of the ordinary Cardinals Cowboys preview. I appreciate your time. I hope that you'll take the time, maybe join us again sometime. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers. We're right at the threshold. Really appreciate everyone who's already subscribed and joined us repeatedly and mocked us in the comments and all that good stuff. Let us know what you think. I appreciate you all. I hope that you all have a absolutely fantastic day.